Okay, so let's try another one. Here we have this problem, and again, if you really look at it for just a minute, wouldn't it be nice if this was quadratic? If we had something squared minus 3 times something minus 4, that would be quadratic. So we're going to do, again, a u substitution. I'm going to let u in this case be z squared minus 5. Now, if that is true, then if I were to square both sides, then z squared minus 5 squared would be the same thing as u squared. So I'm going to use this and substitute it in this problem. Instead of z squared minus 5 squared, I'm going to write this as u squared minus 3 times, instead of z squared minus 5, remember we called that u, minus 4 equals 0. Now this can be factored easily. If it can't be factored easily, we could always use the quadratic formula or completing the square. So let's see, that will factor into u and u, and this would be minus 4 plus 1 would give us the minus 3 in the middle. So now if I take each one of the factors and set those equal to 0 and solve, we would have u equals 4 and u equals negative 1. But remember, we didn't start off with a u. Our problem, in order to actually solve this problem, we have to find out what z is, not what u is. So I need to go back and replace u with what it really is. So u was supposed to be z squared minus 5. So that will equal 4, and it will also equal negative 1. Now we need to solve for z. So if I add 5 to both sides, we get z squared equals 9. And then taking the square root to get z alone, then we would have z equals plus or minus 3. The square root of 9 would be plus or minus 3. Here, if I add 5 to both sides, we get z squared equals positive 4. So again, taking the square root of both sides, we would have z equals plus or minus 2. So we actually have 4 answers to this problem. Now again, I can't stress it enough. You really have to take each one of these answers and plug them back in and make sure that they work in the equation. Since we have just a minute, I'm going to take one of them and go through and do that as a check. Let's just check the answer of 3. If I were going to do that, that would be 3 squared is 9 minus 5 squared minus 3 times, again, 3 squared is 9 minus 5 minus 4 should equal 0. So 9 minus 5 would be 4 squared minus 3 times 4 minus 4 should equal 0. So this would be 16 minus 12 minus 4 equals 0. And 16 minus 12 is 4, minus 4 is 0. You should always go through and double check every single one of your answers, because each one of these 4 do work. But, just in case, sometimes you're going to run into one that will not work. So please be very careful and double check every single answer.